We sing them. The primary mantra is the Hare Krishna mantra. And before that, we'll sing some mantras that are honoring the teachers who brought us the mantra. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Sri Mate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarane Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Haribo, Nitai Gaur Haribo. Nitai Gaur Premanande, Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki, Shri Harinam Mahamantra ki, Shri Harinam Prabhu ki, Gaur Premanande, Nitai Gaura Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo. May I have the Bhagavad Gita, please? Thank you for coming, everybody. Great to see you all. So in the Bhagavad Gita, which is an account given by Sanjaya to Dhritarashtra. Sanjaya has attained, by the mercy of his guru, the ability to see what's going on at the Battle of Kurukshetra. And he's watching it, although he's at a distance, and he's relating to Dhritarashtra, whose sons are in the battle, 100 sons. And he's at least as wrapped up in that as people in the Giants-Dodger game, or Pakistan and India. Maybe not as much as that, playing in a soccer match, because his sons are in the match, which is a kind of parallel, because the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita gives an indication where he says that he's asking, how are my sons and the sons of Pandu doing? Which is a giveaway to those whose ears are sensitized to the way that people see the world. And the way that those who are self-realized and give commentary on this put it is that he's making a distinction between his sons and others. And this is what Krishna talks about in the Bhagavad Gita as being a kind of distorted vision. Ichadvesha sumutena dvandva mohena bharata sarva bhutani sammoham sarge yanti parantapa. Later in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, people who are overcome by the illusory conception of life due to identifying with matter, although they're not matter, they're spirit, have this sense of attraction and aversion. They like those things that are in relationship to their body, and other things not as much. So, as Sanjaya is describing what's happening on the battlefield, he explains how Krishna and Arjuna pull into the center of the armies, that is, in between the two armies that are faced off at Kurukshetra. And Arjuna, who's the greatest warrior of the time, and who has a duty to do as a soldier, to fight for dharma, for righteousness, to uphold, because the kingdom had been stolen. And now, at the last minute, he came up with a lot of reasons why he didn't want to fight. And a lot of them sound pretty valid. But I have to fight against my family members. And also, war, what happens? People die, and then there's families get disrupted, and then that spreads out into society. And it has a ripple effect for many generations. It can be catastrophic. And then struggling with the idea of fighting or not fighting, but then out of weakness of heart, deciding I just won't do it, and dropping his famed bow and arrow on the ground, and proclaiming to his friend, Krishna, who's driving his chariot for him, who, as it turns out, is his teacher. Of course, he's everyone's teacher, because he's revealed in the Bhagavad Gita as the supreme personality of Godhead. God has a personal form, and he's able to go wherever he wishes and befriend whomever he wishes. So Arjuna is one of his friends. And so Arjuna then turns to Krishna. He has this sense that I need help. And he says, please tell me what I should do. What's my duty in this case? And he adds that I'm a soul surrendered unto you. I give up. And you're going to have to guide me. So at that point, Krishna smiles and tells Arjuna that although it sounds like you're very learned because you're giving a lot of reasons that sound good and would sound good to many people, you're actually fool number one. I got that term from my teacher, Prabhupada. Prabhupada used to use this term, fool number one. What order of foolishness are you with? Number one, I'm top on the list. And because he says that, does Krishna, although it sounds like you're a learned person, you've actually missed the whole point of life, and the whole point of philosophy, and the whole point of work and action and everything else. Because you and I are eternal. We're not our bodies. And we're in material bodies temporarily in which we are forced by the modes of material nature to act in certain ways. And we can't really stop working. He tells Arjuna, whose idea it was to give up the fight and perhaps go to the forest like a monk and just beg or wait for people to give him something. So that way I won't have to be involved in this. But Krishna says you'll be involved anyway. You'll be forced by your nature to act as a soldier. That's who you are. And then he points out, does Krishna, that if you fight this war on my instruction, you're taking it from my authority that you should fight. Because I want you to fight. Because Krishna had an agenda. He wanted to restore the harmony in the world with righteous principles so that people could flourish. And at that particular time in history, there was an unusual buildup of very demoniac types of people and kings. So Krishna had his plan. What's more, it was a righteous war. He had to fight for his brother, who is to be the king. But in any case, Krishna is the supreme, and he says you should fight. So then he gives, throughout the whole Bhagavad Gita, many reasons why Arjuna should fight, and at the end he says that I've given you every good reason there is. Now you can decide for yourself. That's, you have free will. You can fight or not fight. One of the main important points that Krishna gives to Arjuna is that if you fight or don't fight for your own reasons, you're going to get a reaction. However, if you take it as your duty to fight based on higher authority, and in this case on my authority that you should fight, and even though you're moving about as a soldier, even if you're killing people, there's no reaction. We could see this in modern contexts also. If a person signs up for the military, goes for training, and then goes to a war, he or she then may face off with an opponent somewhere. And if in the course of doing his or her duty in fighting, he or she kills somebody, they may get a medal. However, if that person comes home in front of the 7-Eleven, says you parked in the wrong place, and kills somebody, they'll go to jail for the rest of their life, at least 25 to life, maybe with no possibility of parole if it was premeditated. So there's a difference in the result of our work depending on how we're aligned. So one of the main instructions Krishna gives throughout the Bhagavad Gita is that we're part and parcel of the Supreme. We have the same characteristics, although we're tiny and helpless. We're dependent. Even though we're conscious living beings and we have the same qualities as the Supreme Soul, Krishna. If we, and Prabhupada used this term frequently, dovetail, which means to fit into a particular joint very snugly. You can holds in there a wedge. It's the wedge principle. Where if we dovetail our desire with the desire of the Supreme, then as we work and move about in the world, we incur no karmic reaction. And this is called akarma. Karma means that I work, and because of whatever I work, whatever I do in this world, for instance, if I give in charity, then on my own behalf, I'm giving some charity, then in my next life, I have to accept that charity. It's actually a burden, because I have to wait, and it's like, okay, now you're going to get it back. I don't want it. No, you have to take it. But I can't take it because if I take it, I'll be over my tax limit. It's like, no, you have to take it anyway. And if you steal something from someone in this life, you don't get away with it. In this or the next life, then that has, in the same proportion or with interest, it has to be taken back from you. If you're a bank teller, you can count millions of dollars in a day. But if you take $1 out of the stack and think, I need a pack of gum, you'll lose your job and you'll be infamous in the industry. No one will take you for $1. You'll never be hired again. So the principle holds in modern context, in the context of our lives, and on a spiritual level, those who align themselves with the will of the Supreme then work in a productive way. Productive means that not only do those workers not become entangled in the actions and reactions of karma and have to be bound to this world, but they also develop a consciousness of the Supreme that can become more and more intimate. And this is one of the teachings of bhakti, that it's not that we just try to survive in this world by avoiding karma, but we actually have a positive relationship with the Supreme. Sanitya nitya sambandha prakritischa paraivasa. It is our natural constitutional position to have a loving relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And by working, using our present senses to serve the Supreme, the senses become purified. And then gradually, the natural propensity to love becomes reposed in the supreme object of love, Krishna. And this is our positive life. Beyond karma and beyond avoiding karma, we have a positive life to live, which is love for Krishna. So there are various paths. But before one takes a path, one should ask the question, what is my goal? Because each path takes one to a particular goal. For instance, the path of karma is a path through which one figures out how to manipulate the laws of nature and therefore elevate oneself materially in this world, which never works out because ultimately, as Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Brahma Bhuvana Loka Punar Avartino Arjuna Mamu Petya Tukonteya Punar Janmana Vidyate. Whatever place you go to in this world, you're still going to find the same problems. When I went to Japan for the first time, it's such a seemingly mystical place, so different, especially back then when I first went. It was 1979, my first trip to Japan, and somehow I had it in my head that it would be such a different world, that maybe there would be no birth, death, and old age and disease. Even though I knew that wasn't true, there was some hope. And as I was landing in Tokyo, I was waking up from a long trip, looking out the window, and as we got closer to the airport, there was an overpass going over one of the freeways, and I saw an ambulance, 2 ambulances, speeding over them with the lights going around, and I thought, nah, it's still there. Although it was pretty close, because when I got there, I had some bags. I went right to an event, and I said, "Are these bags okay?" And they said, "Yeah, it's Japan. Don't worry." They said, "It's 95% safe." And the rest of the night, I was thinking about that 5%. I said, what about the 5%? All my stuff's in there. So wherever we go in this world, whatever kind of arrangement we might make, we'll find that being involved in selfish work, one way or another, binds us to this world, which is not our home, and in which we can never find rest. So then there's jnana, which comes to a conclusion, the path of jnana yoga, which comes to a conclusion that we're not part of this world, we're not the material body, and ultimately the goal of jnana is to merge with the Supreme. But that won't satisfy us either, because we're eternal particles and we have individuality. And even if we merge into the Supreme, at some point there will awaken in us a desire for variety, an attraction for the opposite. And then, according to the Srimad Bhagavatam, we will again come looking. And where do we look? Without information of the spiritual world, without having developed an attraction for the Supreme, then we'll look here in Silicon Valley. Can I afford anything here? Wow, it really went up. We'll have a search going on, and how long does it last? Forever. We keep looking over and over again. Krishna describes Bahunam Janmanamante, after millions and millions of births. We never find what we're looking for until someone comes in contact with bhakti and then realizes the path of the positive, which means we actually have an object of affection. We have a way to use all of our senses in a positive way that is not only non-reactive, but actually which purifies the senses and gives us the sense of happiness and joy that we've always been looking for but never gotten in this world. It's always a little bit out of reach or a lot out of reach. Nowadays, a lot out of reach. So, in the path of bhakti, once one takes to the path, which means to chant Hare Krishna, to read Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, and to use one's work, whatever work one's doing, in service of the Supreme. Then one enters into a life of auspiciousness and also becomes free from distress. These are the first 2 symptoms when one gives one's full attention to bhakti. One becomes free from distress. So why do we become free from distress? Because distress is caused by karmic reaction. Because I'm working life after life in this world, And I'm working imperfectly because I'm not aligned with the Supreme. I haven't dovetailed my desire perfectly with the Supreme. I want something for myself. It's Kumbh Mela. Therefore, I get the reaction again and again, and I'm disappointed. But as soon as one takes to the path of bhakti, then all karma, including prarabdha karma, means the karma that is manifest as this body and this particular mind that I have now, is removed. This is pointed out in the Bhagavat Purana, especially in 2 verses given by Devahuti, who says, Yanama deha shravanana kirtanad, yet pravanad yet shravanad api kuchit, swadyo pisadya savanaya kalpate, kutak pudaste bhagavanu darshanat. That when one takes to the direct process of worshiping the Supreme through bhakti, especially by hearing and chanting, the methods that I just mentioned before, what were they? Chanting Hare Krishna, reading Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, and dedicating one's work to the Supreme. Then such a person becomes qualified to perform Vedic sacrifices. What that means in this verse is that the prarabdha karma that comes along with this material body is diminished to the degree that one is no longer contaminated by the material world, is considered on the spiritual platform. And then she gives another verse saying that, how wonderful it is, aho batashwa pachato gariyan, that even if you're doing bhakti a little bit with feeling, then the karma will be destroyed. And auspiciousness means that one actually knows what the purpose of life is and is able to share it with all other living beings. And that means that we feel actually satisfied as we move about in the world because we know what to do. We also know what not to do. And meanwhile, the karma is being the karma that we've accrued after many lifetimes, including this present material body. That karma is destroyed. And now we have a new life in which our objective is completely different than it was while I was engaged in looking for happiness in the material world. For instance, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Na dhanam, na janam, na sundarim, kavitam va jagadisha kamaye, mama janmani janmanishvare, bhavatad bhakti rahaituki twai. He gives the mentality of someone who's entered onto the path of bhakti, which is, I don't want anything anymore from this world. It's not a matter of restraint. Just like a child who's active, children are active by nature. And if you ask the child to sit for 1 minute, and I'll give you a comic book, he can't do it. It's very difficult. He'll break down at 47 seconds. Give me the comic book. No, that was 47 seconds. And so until there's a sense of engagement of the senses in which we have a higher taste for Krishna, we're always holding back, restraining the senses, and at any time they can run loose and go after their objects again. So in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Vishya vinivartante niraharasatehina rasavarjam rasopyasya param jishva nivartate. If you take to the practice of bhakti yoga, then the senses become purified and you get a higher taste. Everyone wonders, how could you possibly give up the objects of the senses? People used to tell us all the time when we were young, people for instance, at the airport. I grew up in an airport, raised by wolves in an airport. So, people all the time would see us selling Bhagavad Gita and so forth, and they come out and say, why are you wasting your life? You're young. You should be having fun. It's like, we are having fun. You want to take a book? But when they saw her lifestyle, like, why are you foregoing all sense pleasure from this material world? But we didn't feel like we were foregoing anything, because we were enjoying the Kirtan, we were enjoying the prasadam, we were enjoying the camaraderie, and we actually had knowledge. We were on a path, and still are, in which we feel the connection to the Supreme at every minute through our, whatever it is, through our work, through even taking care of the body in the day. Because when you're dedicated to the path of bhakti, even as you're taking care of your car, you're taking care of your body. As I like to say before I go through the shower, I'm going through the car wash, that there's a purpose behind it. You're taking care of whatever energy you have and the senses you have in order to serve Krishna. So it's a life of complete auspiciousness and freedom from connection to the modes of nature, and therefore, na dhanam, na janam, na sundaram, no longer interested in these things of the world except to use them as paraphernalia and service as much as possible. So this is the way that one can become happy and free, what everyone's looking for by getting more money. There's never a point at which you get enough money. It's never enough to free you. In fact, then it starts becoming an attachment that binds you to the material world. You get enough money, and you'll be looking at it all the time. How's it doing now? Oh, the stock market's down. Now where did it go? Can we get it back? Is it going to come back? This is the constant concern in this world, as how to preserve what I have. And it's not possible to preserve it, therefore I'm always in anxiety. True? Yes. To some degree? So bhakti solves all that. Even the wealthiest, most successful people in the world, the Goswamis of Vrindavan, are described, Tyakvaturnam Ashesha Mandalapati Shrenim Sada Tuchavat. Everyone say Tuchavat. It means, meh. They had billions of dollars. They had position power. Most people want to preserve power. Michel's law of iron laws of oligarchy say that as soon as a person, an ordinary person, attains power, he or she then uses all the energy to preserve the power instead of to do their duty. Because power is so intoxicating in the material sense that you don't want to lose it. So there's everything to lose in the material world, and we will lose it, and everything to gain from practicing bhakti yoga. So anyone can practice this, use their entire life. There's no entry fee, and you can start from whatever position you're in now, which means that if you're a young person, what is the entry level that you can enter at in bhakti? The age level. You can enter it when you're in the womb. So how old is that? 0 years old, I think, because I heard one of the women from ISV telling somebody that the child started from 0 years old doing bhakti, because child in the womb can hear the transcendental vibration. So that's a pretty low age limit to enter, right? 0? Pretty low. 0 years old. How long have you been practicing this? Since I was 0. And if you're old, can you start bhakti when you're old? Yeah, you could start bhakti when you're old. You can start bhakti, what if you're rich? What if you're poor? You live in a house. You live in a van. So any place, anytime, whatever situation one's in, one can take to the process of bhakti and get the same result as anybody anywhere else. Whereas that's not true in the material world. It's an uneven playing field because of the karma we have. You always feel like, I'm going to catch up to the next guy because it seems unfair. Although it is fair, because there's a higher law that's organizing everything in this material world. Even the cheaters are cheating those who cheated them previously. Although that's hard to understand, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, he just gives a preliminary understanding of that. So take to bhakti. This International Society for Krishna Consciousness is designed to give everyone a fast track in bhakti. You get association with others who are doing the process. You get a free string of beads thrown in. Don't you? Yes. It's free. I got mine free when I joined. They say, here's some beads. Like, free gift. Mantra, free of charge. Prasadam, free. Everything free. It's all free. Like Nitai Kirtan Bihari said, everything no. So here, everything free. And material world, everything no. It's simple philosophy. So if you take a little prasadam and engage your senses for Krishna's service, even if you're wrapped up right now in a lot of work and it doesn't seem like it's possible to get out, just start with the mood that I'm doing this for Krishna and chant Hare Krishna a little bit and take prasadam, and then the senses will become purified and you'll become happy and successful. We guarantee it, or your money back from all the free stuff. So let's see if there's a few reflections. Anybody have a sentence or a concept that he or she heard that you want to reflect back? Yes, 1, 2. Go ahead, you got the mic, start. Oh, that's all right.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, I think you made several wonderful points about bhakti, but one thing that really caught my attention was, distress. Because a lot of people, when I talk to them, right, they say like, I need to do this, it's a stress buster and stuff like that. But you really enforce the point that, hey, bhakti is a stress buster as well. So I like that point, Maharaj. And then several other points you mentioned,
Yeah, let's just talk about that because it's an important point. Stress and de-stress come as concomitants in this world. And one of the ways to rise above it, Krishna talks about this in the Bhagavad Gita, is learn to tolerate the distresses of this world, because along with the body, there's a natural way in which distress will come. However, part of this idea that one becomes free from karma in the present body, karma really is in the mind, because we have impressions in our mind due to our previous work that, when carried over into the present life, impel us to work in a particular way. We feel as if by force we're having to act in certain ways. And that's true. However, the way in which karma is diminished in our present body is that our ability to rise above the urges of the senses becomes more and more strengthened by the process of bhakti. And so even while we're living in a material body, Krishna says, Raga dvesha vimuktaisthu vishayan indriyaischaran atmavashara videyatma prasadam arigachati. You may be living in a material body that has all kinds of requirements, just like everyone else, and it may seem that you're moving about the world like everyone else, but because you're following the regulative principles that free you, then your experience is completely different. And that's described by Krishna in the 5th chapter, I believe, where he says, what is the verse I'm thinking in my mind? About the anaiva kinchit karomiti yukto manyeta tatvavit pashan shrinvan spasan jigran ashnan gachan sopan sasan. Pralapan vishrinan grinnan unmishan nimishan napi indriyan indriyarteshu vartnanta iti dharayan. It means a person, although in this present body, in which the movements of the senses are still going on, doesn't identify with them at all. He or she sees that I'm moving about, I'm grasping, I'm seeing, I'm accepting, I'm eliminating, whatever it may be, there's the workings of the body going on, but I'm not part of them. This is how a person sees his or her interaction with the material body. And the stress comes from identifying, I am this body, and identifying with the movements of the body, the pains of the body, and so forth. But that's no longer the case for somebody who is engaged in devotional service and has risen above the bodily conception of life. So the stress is not material stress. Although people in spiritual practice, they have a sense of stress because but it's spiritual. They have a desire to advance and to do more service. And then they're giving themselves wholeheartedly to that process. Just like today, I had a couple of conference calls with devotees from different parts of the world who participated in the last campaign called Bhadra. And all of them across the world, last night we talked to Oceania, and this morning we talked to North America and Europe, were saying that when they set goals for distributing a certain number of Srimad Bhagavatam sets, they felt anxious about it. And then, even though we were very successful this year for Bhadra, they were already feeling anxious because they thought we did so big last year, then now how are we going to do it again next year? So it's not that in bhakti there's no anxiousness, but it's a different kind of angst. It's angst that's dovetailed with Krishna's desire. We're anxious for Krishna, not for ourselves. And so the stress is different. Prabhupada once pointed out the Yashoda, Krishna's mother. She's always anxious because Krishna, as a child, is running here, there, and everywhere. And she's thinking, what kind of trouble is he going to get into? And so a mother knows there's constant anxiety for the child's welfare, right? So that's there in the spiritual world, but it's spiritual anxiety, not material. You had a point. Same exact point? Wow, that's pretty good. You must be going around. Okay.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. I like the point of auspiciousness that you brought about. Usually in material sense, auspiciousness is always associated with more money kind of things. But I loved it. I was very eager to hear, and then you said auspiciousness means something that, gives us the goal of life and passing it to others.
Yes, and also the wherewithal to do good for all living beings. This is one of the aspects of auspiciousness that Rupa Goswami mentions in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, that we actually have work to do that does good for others. There's a sense in the world people want to actually do good for others, but then there may be a profit motive. That's a delimiting factor. And then also, people may not know how to do good for others. And an example that Prabhupada gives often is that if somebody has typhoid fever, you're not supposed to take solid food. Doctors, any doctors in here confirm? Where's all our MDs? Probably out on call. Okay, so typhoid fever, you can't take solid food. I can just make up anything since there's no doctors. You can't take solid food. So Prabhupada said once in his neighborhood in Calcutta, he saw that the next door neighbor were having a kerfuffle, a brouhaha. And the mother was chastising the son severely. And Prabhupada found out through their helper that worked in their house what had happened, and that was that the parents had to go out on an emergency. One of the two brothers who lived in that house was sick with typhoid, and they had instructed the younger brother, don't give him any solid food. But thinking that he was doing him a favor because He thought maybe he was hungry. He brought him some paratha. Does anybody know what paratha is? You knew? Okay. Just the most famous airplane food in the world. What are you going to bring on the plane? Paratha. And so the boy who was sick with typhoid ate little paratha and got much sicker and almost died. And when the parents came home and found out, they severely chastised the other brother. And so Prabhupada used this as an example. The brother thought, oh, I'm doing a favor, but he was actually almost killing his sibling. So in a similar way, if we don't have a clear knowledge about how to help people, although we may exercise our propensity to try to help other people, we'll do it in a way that actually implicates them more in the material world. It's killing them. So when one's engaged in devotional service, one of the characteristics is that such a person then knows exactly how to help others so that they become free from the cycle of birth and death. And this is one of the definitions of auspiciousness. It's good work if you can get it. Okay, we'll just take 2 more reflections or question. Yes.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. I like the question, the example that you given with a person who is serving in the army and performing the duties, and other who just like on its own will is killing somebody. Like from outside, it looks like the same actions and the same results, but if it's not aligned with the supreme authorities, then it like different results at the end. So the same, like when we go alone with Krishna's will, it will be like we don't have to make like mental speculations what is good and what we should do like for others. It will be naturally coming. Yeah.
Yes, if you're in the military, even if you're in the army, you still have to act according to orders, because there are cases where people go to a war and then they don't follow orders or they don't follow protocol and they kill somebody whimsically on the battlefield, like a civilian. These cases took place in the Vietnam War, and there were hearings in America to reconcile this. And the people, although they were in the military, they acted on their own whims, and they killed people, and therefore they were banned from the military and also imprisoned, if I remember correctly, what their punishment was. So the path of bhakti, and what Krishna mentions in the Bhagavad Gita, is make sure you're aligned. This is called buddhi yoga, that you're following tightly what the Supreme wants you to do. And for that, one has to live a cleaner life so you can hear what the Supreme wants you to do, so you have the power of concentration to be able to read, and also to have the humility to follow those who are following and who can give instruction. And if one has that alignment, then one moves through this world without touching it. That's one of the main teachings of the Bhagavad Gita. Otherwise, it's like driving on the 101 freeway with blindfold on, which there's going to be bloodshed. You're going to smash into something. And that's what happens life after life without being connected to the Supreme Intelligence and following it. Thank you. Okay, last point. Yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, I really like the point. So everything is free in spiritual and everything no in material. And also like if we try to use our work and intelligence in alignment with Krishna's service, then we don't need to we can get rid of the karma and all the negativity that we have incurred from birth after birth.
Yes. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Patram pushpam palam toyam yome bhaktya prayachati taraham bhakti paritam ashnami paritatmanaha. He names those items that are freely available, like a leaf, flower, fruit, water. All those things you can get for free, right? And he says, just take those free things, offer them to me, I'll accept it if you give it with love. And then your life is perfect. So free. Free. Water, that's fruit, flower, water. No, fruit, leaf, flower. So you got to get it right, otherwise you can't do bhakti. Okay, well, let me try again. Patram, a leaf, pushpam, a flower, toyam, water, and palam, a fruit. I can join. You don't have to have an IQ. So, these 4 things are free. You get them for free, but just offer them with love. And if you do that, then you'll be successful. You have a relationship with the Supreme. Bhagavad Gita, you could probably get one for free. People all the time used to steal them from us at the airport because they thought, who are these punks out here selling these books? Some religious fanatics. So we'd show a book and they go, thanks, and they'd take it. And it happened a lot. So then we complained to Prabhupada and we said, people are stealing books from us all the time. He said, lucky thief. So now, how about if we try just a little japa together? So japa is a really edifying process of bhakti that you can do by yourself, or if you have some family members, you can sit and chant together. And one of the ways to do it is it's nice to count how many mantras you chant. So you can hold up your hand like this, and you can count on your fingers if you put your thumb on the middle section of your ring finger. Does everyone have that? I'm going to come around and check and see if you know what your ring finger is. Okay, you got it. And then move it down to the bottom of the ring finger. That's position 2. So this is 1, 2. Then the bottom of your little finger is 3. Middle of your little finger is 4. Top of your little finger is 5. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. What's this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5. Very good. Mayapur wins. Okay, so let's chant together 30 mantras. So you're going to count to 10 3 times, as if you didn't know. And we'll do it together in unison and see how that feels. Okay? So sit up a little straighter than you were a minute ago. And then bring your mind to attention so that you can just focus on the sound vibration of the mantra. Let go of any other concerns that you might have. Let the sounds of the Kumbh Mela next door just flow through you and not disturb you at all. And just be focused like a yogi in a cave in the Himalayas, meditating on the Supreme. Okay, you ready? Here we go. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So this is the mantra which transforms the consciousness, purifies the heart, And Sundarananda Prabhu, could you stand up just for a minute? If you want to know more about how to chant at home, if you haven't already started practice, then you can see Sundarananda just after. He's got a white mask. That's how you can find him. Thank you, Prabhu. Sundarananda Prabhu will get you started in a home practice and teach you how to hold beads. You can use your fingers, you can use beads. It's nice to hold the beads and go around the string. There's 108, so you can do 108 mantras. And then if you feel like it, you can go back the other way, just like swimming laps in a pool, back and forth, until you find yourself carried away by the mantra. And if you can do that every day, until you're carried away by the mantra, then when you go out into the world, or stay in, more likely, and try to deal with the world through Zoom, then you'll find yourself with a broader perspective. That is, you'll see that I'm doing my duty here. You'll also have a way that you'll feel stronger in controlling your anger, and you'll feel more patient, and your relationships will become noticeably more manageable. These are just very preliminary results that you'll get from chanting. What to speak of a sense of knowledge that starts to come through your mind, and you'll feel attracted to the chanting as you practice more and more. And then the other practice is reading Bhagavad Gita. So I'll just demonstrate how to read the Bhagavad Gita. So first of all, you got to get one. So if you don't have a Bhagavad Gita, then Sundarananda Prabhu, can you stand up again? See Sundarananda Prabhu, and he'll get you a Bhagavad Gita. Okay? Thank you, Prabhu. And here's how you read Bhagavad Gita. You open the book. So first you have to have one. Then you can open it up and read. And the way you can make the reading of the Bhagavad Gita more fruitful is invite others in to come and listen. Is there anybody out there that can come in and listen? I don't know if we want to try that. Okay, so here's an example of reading Bhagavad Gita. Are you ready? Yes. Okay. I just let the record show that I opened up randomly, and I just happened to be at the 3rd chapter, 24th verse, and here I go. Krishna speaking, for if I ever failed to engage in carefully performing prescribed duties, O Partha, certainly all men would follow my path. Purport, in order to keep the balance of social tranquility for progress in spiritual life, there are traditional family usages meant for every civilized man. Although such rules and regulations are for the conditioned souls and not for Lord Krishna, because he descended to establish the principles of religion, he followed the prescribed rules. Otherwise, common men would follow in his footsteps, because he is the greatest authority. From the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is understood that Lord Krishna was performing all the religious duties at home and out of home as required of a householder. See? That's how you read Bhagavad Gita. Then, if you have a leaf, a flower, fruit, or water, you can put it in front of a picture of Krishna and say, my dear Lord, please accept this humble offering. And you can offer it like that from your heart. And instead of just thrusting your hand into a bag of chips and stuffing them in your mouth while you're looking at a screen, you can instead offer it with heartfelt devotion to a picture of Krishna. Please accept this. And then afterwards, you can taste it, eat it, and you'll be happy. So if you do these 3 things, you'll be in the mainstream of bhakti. Do japa, read Bhagavad Gita, offer a leaf, flower, fruit, or I don't know if I can do this one. At least I can offer a leaf to Krishna, And then one last thing is have kirtan as much as possible. So we have a few more minutes and we'll sing a little kirtan together, okay? I'd like to do the China tune. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Go Premanande, Nitagoraribo, Haribo, Haribo, Nitagoraribo. And now we have Hare Krishna Dance Festival. So we got this place specially because of the wooden floor. You can bounce on it, dance it as you wish. So we're going to roll up this carpet. We'll put all the seats back there and open up the dance floor for everybody for Hare Krishna Festival. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
His Grace Vaisesika Prabhu ki.
Srila Prabhupada ki. Maybe, yeah. Hare Hare. Our Kirtan tonight is dedicated to all the devotees in Bangladesh who are under attack right now. So make a special prayer, all of us. Dear Srila Prabhupada, Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Shri Shri Panchatattva, Shri Shri Radha Madan Mohan, Shri Shri Lakshmi Nrsingadev. If you so desire, please protect all the devotees and Bangladesh who are under attack at this very moment. Thank you for considering our request. Careful right behind you. Mataji. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Sri Mate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Govinda Jai Jai Gopala Jai Jai. Govinda Jai Jai Gopala Jai Jai. Radha Ramana Hari Govinda Jai Jai. Radha Ramana Hari Govinda Jai Jai. Govinda Jai Jai Gopala Jai Jai. Govinda Jai Jai Gopala Jai Jai. Radha Ramana Hari Govinda Jai Jai. Radha Ramana Hari Govinda Jai Jai. Nitai Go Hari Bo, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Go Hari Bo. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Rama Rama Hare Hare. Go Premanande Haribo. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaura Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Nitai Gaura Hari Bo. Nitai Gaura Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Nitai Gaura Hari Bo. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Paramahamsa Prirajagajajasto Tarastashi Shiman Habai Charanaravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Shri Rupapat Ki Jai Jayom Vishnupat Paramahamsa Prirajagajajasto Tarastashi Shiman Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavini Ki Jai Nama Charya Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Ganadhara Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gokopinath Shyamakund Radhakund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Shri Mayapur Navadip Dham Ki Jai Shri Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai Tulsi Devi Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Jamuna Devi Ganga Devi Ki Jai Samveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo. Dear Srila Prabhupada, dear Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Shri Shri Panchatattva, Shri Shri Radha Manoha. Everyone please repeat with me. Dear Srila Prabhupada, dear Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, dear Shri Shri Panchatattva, dear Shri Shri Radha Madan Mohan, dear Shri Shri Lakshmi Nrsingadev. If you so desire, please protect our dear Gauri and give her shelter at your lotus feet. Thank you for considering our request. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. We'll also like to dedicate the prayers to His Grace Hari Sankirtan Prabhu's aunt who is suffering from cancer.
Hare Krishna. Namaste Narasingaya. Namaste Narasingaya. Yeah, Shinga. Pahina Shinga, Hridayana Shinga. Pahina Shinga, Hridayana Shinga. Narashinga Madim Sharanam Prapade. Narashinga Madim Sharanam Prapade. Tava Kara Kamala
Prabhupada Maharaj ki, Jagat Krishna Prabhupada ki, Hidayat Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We welcome you all who are present physically here and who have joined us online. Thank you for coming. Today's discourse and the Gaura Arti was led by His Grace Vaisesika Prabhu. So let's give him a big round of applause. And the Narsimha Arti was led by Avantika. So any newcomers today? Okay, we have several. Thank you all for coming. And if there are any questions, please do ask one of our devotees. My name is Sri Gopal Das, and we have Sachindra Prabhu somewhere here. Yeah. So please, if there are any questions, please ask, and we would be happy to assist you in any way we can. And we also hear that yesterday devotees went to Diwali Mela, and we have some newcomers coming for the first time here. They are here, and we welcome you all. So let's chant one round of Mahamantra for all the newcomers. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So we have 4 sponsorships today. 2 are birthday sponsorship. So the first sponsorship is Prakash and Usha Mataji is sponsoring on the occasion of their son's birthday, Shivam. Are they here? And the second sponsorship is Jagannath Sham Prabhu is sponsoring on the occasion of Sham Kumari Mataji's birthday. And we have Dhananjay Prabhu, who is coming after a very long time, and he is sponsoring today's feast as well. And we have Divya Kumari Mataji and Achyuta Kumar Prabhu are also sponsoring today's feast. So what's coming up next is in 2 days, starting Tuesday, October the 19th, is the very auspicious month of Kartik. So we have very exciting programs that's going to happen here at ISV. We will send out the details soon, but take the advantage. This is the holiest of the holiest month. Any small service in devotional service will reap you million-time benefit. So, and on the top of that, we will have His Grace Vaisesika Prabhu personally present for this Kartik here. So please do take advantage of this. So for the Kartik month, we are chanting the 8th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. So please do chant either the Sanskrit or the English version every day. And we have cooks, announcement for the cooks today, Avantika.
Hare Krishna, today's prashadam was cooked by Ujjwala Rasa Mataji, Uttara Mataji, Haritha Mataji, Gautam Prabhu, Kalyani Mataji, Priyanka Mataji, Rasamrita Sesha Prabhu, Srini Prabhu, Surisha Mataji, Swati Mataji, Tripti Mataji, Sindhu, and Parth.
Thank you, Avantika. We've been missing this for a few weeks now. Thank you. I think that's all for the announcements. If there are no more announcements, we can go for the Prasad Seva prayers.
This next prayers are prayers of gratitude to Krishna for giving us prasadam, spiritual food that helps to control the tongue, conquers over the tongue because the tongue is voracious and difficult to control. Out of all the senses, it's the most difficult. And if one can control the tongue, one can control all the other senses. Just restraining the tongue is not possible. But by tasting prasadam or food offered first to Krishna, one becomes filled with devotion, one purifies one's senses, and one easily controls the tongue. So this is a song, as you can see, we're going to read from the Bengali at the top. Can you all read that? Yes? Okay, good. This is a song written by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, the translation of which I just gave in a summary form. Sharirat vijaja jyotindriya dharita jive pele vishaya sodhare tanmadye vidoyati logo musu gurmati take jeta kati kasanchare Krishna borodoyamo koribare dikadai Shakrisha nadilopa Shri Chaitanya Gita Mahashare Govinde Rama Kamari Vaishnave Tata Punya Bhatangada Krishna Sunanta Kristari Sarvati Kana Sami Rakshyo Pujaya Krishna Cheta Soya Shri Puri Paya Jaya Prabhupada Sukanda Vasuvantara Kartikaha Stabadino Dasa Savamayam Jayamahi. If you'd like to join us, we have a couple more very beautiful prayers that bring devotion to the heart. Varhapidam Natavarabapu Karniyo Karnikaram Bibhratvasa Kanatakapisham Vajayantim Shamalam Randran Veno Adarasudaya Punayan Gopavrindai Vrindaranyam Swapadaramanam Pravisha Gita Kirti Tavakatamritam Tapta Jivanam Kavigiritam Kalmashapaham Shabanamangalam Srimadapratam Bhuvikranantiye Bhuridajana Krishna Kirtana Gana Nartana Kala Pato Jani Brajita Bali Hamsa Chakra Madhupa Shreni Viharasvatam Karnanandi Kalagani Vahatume Jiva Marupam Gane Shri Chaitanya Prayami Vitavalasa Lila Sudaswadini Landunita Hidaya Vishadaya Konilana Mondaya Samyak Shastra Vihadaya Rasadaya Sita Gitomadaya Shashadna Vihadaya Samadaya Adhurya Madhaya Shri Chaitanya Praya Nidataya Jnanandodaya Yato Manahara Eva Hibara Ta Eva Chaitra Shapa Konilita Malati Surabaya Pradakadamvanila Saitai Vasmita Vichatra Surapa Akaralila Vida Devano Rasile Lakita Utale Cheta Samutantate Shri Vishnu Shava Parichira Bhavan Vaisesika Kirtane Kalana Smana Kadandri Bhajane Lakshmi Pritu Pujane Akrurastadi Vandane Kapipate Dasye Dasakye Juna Krishna Kiresham Bhada Jo Bhagavan Rajaisha Tanaya Tadama Vrindavanam Ramya Kachirupasana Brajabudu Vargena Yakopita Srimad Bhagavatam Pramanamamalam Prema Pumato Maham Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Makamidam Satyadarana Karam Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Makamidam Satyadarana Hara Go Premanande Nitai Gora Haribo 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 Nitai Gora Haribo Please come take prasadam. It's right outside in the picnic area. Thank you very much, everyone, for coming. Hare Krishna.